Hello, welcome friend, my name is Annika and today I'm doing a sketchbook video and this is my first sketchbook of 2017 and yeah, just get started. It's a Moleskine sketchbook and I will have more detail about it in the description as well as a little thing on the screen and yeah. So first off we have the stickers on the sketchbook. I have a scroll box sticker as well as a little and I don't remember her name, a Pokemon from Sun and Moon, and it's by Seal Caser or something like that. I bought it on Redbubble, and I will have a link to that in the description as well. And this is by Audra Claire, and it's also from Redbubble, but she also has a YouTube channel which I will link. Yeah, she's a really wonderful artist and I just had to get it. I don't know much about this artist, but I really love the sticker because I chose the Popplio as my starter Pokemon in Moon, so I just had to get that. And yeah, let's just get into it. The first page is just my name and my handle, and when I started it the 2nd January of 2017 and I finished it the 31st of March. And here is just who's the sticker by, so I won't forget in the future. So the first page is just a simple little sketch of a little royal lady, maybe a noble woman or a queen or princess or something, holding what would have been a dragon egg. I never got around finishing it. I was going to, because I was very hesitant to start this sketchbook at first because it's a really expensive sketchbook and I didn't want to ruin it, but so I was really afraid to start it, but I thought when the new year started that I was going to be brave this year and actually do stuff. And so the first page wasn't wow, but it was a start. And then here I started preparing for the collaboration I did with Jolene Art, brainstorming. This is sort of the pose I went with, but it changed quite a lot. And I have more thumbnails in here, but I will have the finished illustration, the line art here. And I will link to the collaboration up there, which you should go watch. So I did a bunch of thumbnails of things I might have done for the collaboration because we're going to do Scandinavian folklore, and I went with Skogsrå, which is kind of like a forest spirit of some kind, and I talk more about it in the video, so you should watch that if you haven't already. But I also toyed with the idea of doing Näcken, which I don't remember what he's called elsewhere, but he is a beautiful man, often naked, playing the violin in the river and luring people and such. And I also toyed with the idea of doing a troll with a changeling, I believe it would be called, bortbytling in Swedish. And here's the troll taking a human child and laying down a piece of wood, I believe in some stories it would be. And I thought that might be a fun idea to explore, but I kind of wanted to do the Skogsrå more, so that's what I went with. And here's more different kind of poses and composition. And here's just, I don't know, I think it was going to be some kind of concept for Näcken, but I never fleshed it out. Here is some more. I was going to have some, I don't remember what they are called in English, tjädrar. In Swedish it's a kind of bird, and I will have the translation on the screen because I would have looked it up by the time I'm editing this. But in some lore she has tjädrar like pets or something like that, and also deers, but yeah, I didn't end up doing either of those, but it was an idea. And here's just a little character with big ears. And here's the first thumbnails for the Fantasy Field Guide ATC swap with ATC It Up with Friends, which I've talked about in the past. But if you want to learn more about the events and the swaps and all that, there's a new theme every month. And it's a really fun way to collect ATCs from a lot of talented artists. And it's hosted by Tabitha Jensen and the Pepkins. And I will have links to everything about that in the description. But yeah, I wanted to do a more mermaid. That one I knew. I ended up doing a mermaid, but it was kind of different. And I also wanted to do a fairy and a dragon or a monster of some kind. And yeah, so here was the very first sketches. Then I did some kind of troll thing, and then I did some pencil sketching in the sketchbook, toying with again for the Fantasy Field Guide thing for a fairy, and a little self-portrait and a little monster thing. And here is some color thumbnails for a few ATCs I did. So I did try out some colors, and I will have the finished for this one up on here. It's a centaur thing, and I really enjoy how that one turned out, as well as these two as well, a mermaid, and I will have that on the screen, and a little forest creature. I believe it kind of changed a lot color-wise, because colors don't match exactly on the final paper, because Copics depends on the paper type, how they look. That's a terrible explanation, but if I haven't mentioned it, yeah, I didn't mention it, but I'm starting to get sick, so if I'm sounding a little, you know why. But yeah, and also I can't explain things apparently, so let's just move on. And as you can see, Copics do bleed quite a lot through this, and I didn't put very much layers on this, but it's not a big deal, because I don't use both sides, so if you just remember to keep a separate piece of paper between the sheets, then it's no problem for me at least. And here I did some hand studies, but with my types of hands, because my characters often only have 3 fingers, a thumb and 2 more fingers. So I did look up reference and tried to find ways to make them look right, but with only 3 fingers. And I think this really helped, and I actually do need to try this a little more, because it really helped a lot. I don't really know if you can see all that well, but they're there. And then we have more color thumbnails. This one, I think I went with more of this one, but I will have that on the screen. And then we have another mermaid, and I think I went with more of the colors, and you will have that on screen as well, but I can't remember at the moment. But I think I went with more of the colors of those, but with another background. It's so hard to remember sometimes, but yeah. And here I did another, and for this one I actually started to write down what kind of Copics I used, so that I would actually remember, because for this one at least I ended up picking, I really liked the silver hair for this one, but I actually really like the dark background of that, so I did kind of combine it. I don't remember if I choose that. Yeah, you will have that on the screen as well, so you will know. So yeah, it was really helpful doing this. And And yeah, more thumbnails for the fantasy filled guide, and another little fairy pixie thing, and trying some mushrooms. And here I'm starting to really trying to come up with something exciting for the fantasy filled guide. It was hard, but I'm really happy with the end result. I do want to do a bigger versions of those or other creatures, but I just haven't been able to get around to it. But it's something that I actually do really want to do, because I think that would be fun. But yeah, some different kind of creatures. And here I did some studies of different kind of insects, some kind of moth and spiders and butterflies. And here I finally found a thing that I actually wanted to do. I ended up doing a devil hound, my take on it, and I really enjoy the way it turned out, and I will have that on the screen. Yeah, I ended up doing that one, and I ended up doing some other sketches. And then I played with a more, because it's a fantasy and sci-fi thing, I often go for the fantasy aspect of it, because that's what I like. But I really do enjoy science fiction things as well. So I toyed with the idea of doing a robot, but I think I ended up doing only more fantasy-like things. But yeah, I could have done some kind of that. And I don't remember if I did this before I did the final ACO or if this was the inspiration for it, but it's definitely one of my little characters, and I did a ACO of that, and I will have on the screen. Yeah, so, and the fairy. And we have more things. I actually wanted to do this one because I think it's really cute, but yeah, I ended up not doing it, because I ended up doing a Nordic Hydra of some kind. This is a very rough thumbnail, but the final you will see there, and some other creatures. And this is actually, I went back to my old sketchbooks, which I've talked about before, but I often do that to find inspiration in in things I have already sketched, and I think that was one of those. And here is some more Hydra sketches. So it ended up with more of like this, with a small comparison with a human on the side. And then I started thinking about what I could do for a mermaid. I knew I wanted to do a more of a Nordic Scandinavian fish mermaid, and actually did some a little research and all that, and yeah, so we ended up with more of this, but she doesn't have hair, or it, well, it's she. It's a gard. I can't even pronounce it, but it's, I think it was fornordisk for spear or something like that. Yeah, so the inspiration for this one is actually a pike. So, and I think I searched for pike what it meant, and this name I can't pronounce is what came up as a old what it meant, like something, yeah, an old language or something for spear, and pike, yeah, something like that, and adding some information like it's more of a siren kind of mermaid, and that lives in sweetwater and eat fishes and all that, and I will have that on the screen. Yeah, so I went with more of this. Then I knew that I wanted to do a fairy, so I started doing some kind of different thumbnails for those. Ended up with more of this, but so I ended up looking up different kind of butterfly and moths, and I found a butterfly called gräsulv, which is a moth, and I really liked how it looked, and I wanted to incorporate that. I can't remember much of that research now because I did it in February, but there were meanings behind why I chose it, and it's sitting on a branch with a little baby larva thing, and we have a cocoon thing as well. But I wrote everything in Swedish because, yeah, I'm Swedish, so I wanted one of the cards to be in my language, so that's what I did, and I really love how that one turned out. It's really fun to do these for the swap because you kind of need to start thinking in another way, so that's really nice. Then we have just it was my birthday, so I did some happy birthday to me things. And then we have some mermaids sketches. I sort of used the inspiration of this one for one of the mermaid cards that I did, but all of these I do want to do something with eventually, because I do like the idea and the poses, but that is for another time, maybe for next year's mermaid. And I don't think you will see this page very well, but because it's faded quite a lot. But yeah, we have a mermaid and a sea turtle and a little squid octopus thing. I never can remember the difference between those, but yeah, and some more. And then became the mercat, and because I did a trade with Katra 22, I believe she is called, and I will have that one on the screen because I don't know. So this is sort of the inspiration for that one, and here I did another mercat, and I really love how that one turned out, and some other little creatures, and doing some more color comps. I did a mermaid in a glass of champagne, which is also on the screen, and a mermaid with a jellyfish, also you'll see here beside. I don't know, yeah. Then, as you can see, we have a little helper who also wanted to draw on this day. But yeah, then next theme for the EDC It Up with Friends was fairy tales, and I did a bunch of different kind of thumbnails for what I might do. So here's Hansel and Gretel and the gingerbread house, and is it Jack and the Beanstalk? Jack and the Giant? Yeah, some and the Golden Goose. Princess on the P? Yeah, it's difficult to remember the English version of the names when you grew up with the Swedish translations. So, like for these, the three Bocken och Bruse, I don't know what that's called in English without looking it up, but I will have that on the screen because I will have looked it up by the time I'm editing this. But yeah, it's difficult to know what they are called, and I haven't really prepared. So, and here's Alice in Wonderland, and I wanted to do Pinocchio, because I think it was around this time that the YouTube Artists Collective did their theme, and Lemia Crescent had done Lemia did a piece of Pinocchio but gender bend, so it was a girl. Maybe it was not for the collective, maybe it was one of a collaboration she did with someone, maybe with Art a la carte. Valerie. I will have a link to that video in the description, but yeah, it sort of inspired me, but I never went any further with it, so yeah. Then we have, I actually don't know what this is, but it's some kind of wizard and a fish, maybe? I don't know. But this is Pippi Långstrump or Pippi Longstocking and Herr Nilsson. Again, Pippi and her friends. More mermaid things. And I actually this one is the inspiration for one of the mermaid ones, and we'll have that one on the screen. Yeah, and a mermaid unicorn cat. Yeah. Then I did some thumbnails for more possible fairy tale things. This is Ronja Rövardotter, the robber's daughter, I believe, or something like that, in English. I actually haven't read the book, but growing up I watched that movie. So my camera stopped recording and I don't know where we stopped, but I believe we were on this page. So, and I don't, Ronja Rövardotter, and because I grew up watching that movie a lot, and it's a really big part of our childhood. And this is one of the first scenes in the book movie thing, where Louise is giving birth to Ronja, and I don't know what that is, and neither that. It could be some Skyrim thing, but it could be a warrior of some kind anyway. But yeah, I kind of wanted to do Thumbelina. Here is her sleeping in the, if it was yeah, and the toad. Again, I haven't I don't know much about the story except what I've seen in movies of different variations. Yeah, and this is a girl with a matches. I don't know if it's called that in English, but Flickan med svavelstickorna in Swedish, and it's a story by H.C. Andersen, the Danish author that also wrote The Little Mermaid. And it's such a sad story, but it's one of my favorites actually. Yeah, I really enjoyed this story, and I didn't know how to portray it, so I never went any further. And then I thought of doing Beauty and the Beast, so that's actually one of the ones that I made, and I will have that one on the screen. And then we have some more thumbnails for possible things, and I ended up doing Goldilocks and the Three Bears, this composition, but flipped over because I continued sketching in Photoshop, and that's where I did the other two, because I don't think they're in here. Maybe. So I flipped this over, or maybe I just did it in Photoshop and changed the composition. So I did that one. I will have that on the screen, and some other random things, more just random things, and doing some more semi-realistic, and going in straight with ink pens, ink brush pen, I think. Then I needed another fairy tale card, and this is Cinderella, I believe, and this is the, I don't know the name, but the one with the lady who lives in the shoe with all the children. I've done actually a really old version of the shoe with other characters in it, but that was a really long time ago, and I don't believe I have the files for that. Maybe I have the original somewhere, and I'll show that one day in an old art video, but yeah. And then here, these are possible sketches for Bröderna Lejonhjärta, the Brother Lionhearts, which is my all-time favorite Astrid Lindgren book. So I don't want to spoil things, but yeah, here is one scene from the book, and this is another with Skorpan. And I ended up doing this composition scene where Skorpan is joining Jonathan in Nangiala. Yeah, and I will have that finished card on the screen. And then I don't think you'll see this side because it's faded quite a lot. So I wanted to do an Alice in Wonderland card because I know a lot of people like Alice, and I also do. So I ended up with more of this, with her playing croquet, and with the hedgehog, the flamingo, and the Cheshire cat in the background on the screen. I actually listened to the audiobook of Alice in Wonderland. I hadn't done that up until this time, so I actually did quite a lot of research, but I ended up going with more of the Disney version because that's the version that I visually recognize. So I do want to try and do her not so much inspired by Disney in the future, but yeah, it's difficult. More Alice sketches. So the tea party thing, and we have the trying more finding out how they would look. And here's the where she feeds the pig, and where she grows a lot, and the birds kind of attacking her. Yeah, and the final card I already shown that, but it was Beauty and the Beast, so you'll already seen that, but I think I mostly sketched that out in Photoshop. I will have the sketch and the final version on the screen, and this one I actually have no idea what it might be. It could be, yeah, I wanted to do the Little Mermaid, but with the more H.C. Andersen ending, where she is actually being turned into foam, sea foam. But I didn't know how to portray that, so I ended up not attempting it. So yeah. Then this is actually thumbnails for New Beginnings, which was the very first scroller box I got. And I did some kind of thumbnails for that. I actually enjoy how this looks, and but I ended up doing more of a woman and child as the new beginning, with acrylics and all that. And because I actually did a video of that one, so I will have a link to that, and can go watch that video if you want. And then just some random things, and here I went in straight with pen. I believe I got some new pens, so I tried them out. And here is again, this is sort of a thumbnail, a color sketch of one of ACO card I did. I will have that one on the screen. I ended up not doing very much on it, as you can see, but yeah, it helped anyway. And here is a little pixie fairy thing, and just some random things, because I like to do random things. And I guess this is Stella and Max, or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I do believe this is inspired by a children's kid show. I don't know what it is called in English, but my daughter watches it, called Regnbågshjältar. Princess Porcelain, I believe it would be one of the characters in that, sort of. I see a resemblance in that. It might be, I don't know. And then here I did some thumbnails for the winner for the giveaway that I had on Instagram when I reached 3,000 followers. So she wanted a mermaid and a fairy, or she said that I could do either, but I liked the idea of combining the two, so that's what I tried. So I ended up doing more like this, but it ended up taking me a while to get to that point, so this is actually the first card that I did for Mermaid 2017, so I have that on the screen. But I played around a lot with different kind of things, and this one is also the inspiration for one of the mermaid ones, but for that final one I ended up adding a dragon and more, kind of trying things out, doing some weird shapes, and I played Breath of the Wild. Is it Prince Sidian or something like that? Yeah, some fan art, sort of. Maybe a cat in boots. And a lady with a little sea turtle. And yeah. And we have some random things. Sometimes difficult to remember because I did these in March, so it's quite some time ago, because I'm recording this the end of August, so, and I did this in end of March, so I don't remember what was going through my head. Yeah, but that was apparently the last page. And this is just a swap page, I guess you could say. I've taken to the habit of keeping one in my sketchbook. Some of the sketchbook I mainly only use maybe a pencil and maybe some ink things, but I like to try out and see what each material look like. So yeah, so I've taken to the habit of doing that in all my sketchbooks, and yeah, I don't think there's anything in this one. So yeah, this is my first sketchbook from 2017. I hope I wasn't too rambly, and that you could make up what I was saying. I will be back with another sketchbook soon. I'm actually in the very last pages of my 6th sketchbook of 2017, and it feels really good, because that was one of my goals, to do more than 6 sketchbooks, and I think I can do it. So yeah, that feels really nice. So there will be more sketchbooks coming. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hej då!